Horus Lupercal, the Emperor's most trusted son and War Master of the Imperium, stood at the pinnacle of human achievement when a single poisoned blade on a forgotten world began his transformation into mankind's greatest traitor. The civil war he ignited would consume the galaxy, turn brother against brother, and nearly destroy the Imperium he had helped build. This is the story of the Horus Heresy. The Emperor of Mankind created 20 Primarchs, demigod generals engineered from his own genetic template and arcane knowledge drawn from the war. Before they could mature, the Chaos Gods somehow spirited them away from their secret underground laboratory on Terra and scattered them across the galaxy through a great warp vortex. Traditional accounts hold that Horus was the first to be found, recovered far closer to Terra than his brothers. For years, he was the Emperor's only discovered son, and their bond ran deep. The Emperor spent much time with his protege, teaching and encouraging him, and eventually gave him command of the Luna Wolves, a space marine legion forged from Horus's own genetic code. Together, father and son led the early Great Crusade. For 30 years, Horus fought at the Emperor's side as the Imperium expanded across the stars. They toppled tyrants, drove back alien empires, and reunited scattered human worlds. Horus became the face of the Crusade in many ways, beloved by most of his brother Primarchs and respected throughout the growing Imperium. His legion earned glory on 100 battlefields. The Luna Wolves were exemplary shock troops, capable of starting and finishing battles with a single devastating blow, either in an initial, fully successful strike or deployed from reserve to enact the killing blow. As more Primarchs were discovered and given command of their own legions, the Emperor's forces spread across the galaxy. The early crusade was divided into 3 main thrusts, one commanded by Horus, another by Ferrus Manus, and the last by the Emperor himself. The War Master title did not yet exist. Horus was simply the first among brothers, the most favored son, the one the Emperor trusted above all others. The apex came with the El'Lanar Crusade, a massive campaign against an Orc empire that threatened to engulf entire sectors. Horus commanded the final assault with characteristic brilliance, crushing the Waog and securing one of the Great Crusade's most significant victories. In recognition, the Emperor declared him War Master, acting supreme commander in his stead. Horus now stood second only to the Emperor himself in power and prestige. He had earned the right to rename his legion. After the first contact with the Interrex, the Luna Wolves became the sons of Horus, but the Emperor's next decision planted seeds of resentment. Having seen most of humanity reunited, the Emperor returned to Terra and withdrew into a secret project he refused to explain even to Horus. The War Master, who had fought beside his father for decades, now led the crusade alone. The Emperor's absence bred confusion, mistrust, and disappointment among the Primarchs. Friendly rivalries hardened into dangerous feuds. Lemon Rust clashed with both Angron and Lion L. Johnson. Perturabo was shunned by many and grew envious of Rogel Dorn. Conrad Kurz had a disagreement with Dorn that escalated into a brutal surprise attack, leaving Dorn badly injured and unconscious. The formation of the Council of Terra, filled with mortal bureaucrats rather than warriors, deepened the divide. Horus kept the crusade moving forward, but something inside him had begun to crack. A deeply buried resentment took root, one that before the heresy not even he truly seemed to realize existed. Unknown to the War Master, his brother Lorgar had already fallen. Decades earlier, the Emperor had publicly humiliated Lorgar and the entire Word-Bearers Legion for spreading the belief that the Emperor was divine. Forced to kneel before the ruins of their perfect city, Monarchia, the pious Word-Bearers felt betrayed by the father they had worshipped. Desperately seeking any power in the universe to worship, Lorgar turned to the Eye of Terror and pledged himself and his legion to the forces of chaos. The Word-Bearers became the first Chaos Space Marines, and Lorgar began a secret conspiracy to drag his brothers into damnation. His weapon was subtle: warrior lodges, seemingly harmless fraternal societies established by Word-Bearers chaplains throughout the other legions. These lodges would become hotbeds of support for rebellion in the war to come. The trap closed on the feral world of Davin. Horus had taken a detour there while en route to join up with Angron's World Eaters. During a battle against corrupted forces, the former Imperial commander Eugen Temba, now possessed and chaos-corrupted, struck Horus with a blade stolen from the Anatheme, a weapon touched by Nurgle. The wound refused to heal. Horus's super-enhanced immune system and the best apothecaries in the Legion could not stop the infection spreading through his body. The Mournival, Horus's inner circle of advisors, grew desperate. Erebus, first chaplain of the Word-Bearers, suggested the Davinite Serpent Lodge could save him. The Mournival agreed. They did not know Erebus had orchestrated the entire sequence of events. The healers, the lodge, even the battle itself had been carefully arranged. Horus's dying body was moved to the Serpent Lodge, where Devon priests subjected him to an ancient chaos ritual. Erebus entered Horus's mind disguised as the deceased Haster Sejanus, a beloved advisor who had died years before. The false Sejanus showed Horus horrifying visions. In the future, the Emperor ruled as a god, worshipped by billions, while the Primarchs had been discarded once they had outlived their usefulness. Mortals ruled the Imperium. The Great Crusade had been a lie, a means to the Emperor's apotheosis. Then Erebus showed Horus a vision of the past, the creation of the Primarchs, and the moment of their scattering through a warp vortex. The Emperor, who had banned all research into the warp, who had preached the imperial truth of science and reason, had built his sons using the very warp craft he forbade. To Horus, it seemingly confirmed every doubt. His father was a hypocrite, a tyrant bent on godhood who would sacrifice anyone to achieve it. Erebus whispered one final lie. The Chaos Gods, he claimed, were peaceful beings with little interest in the material universe. It was the Emperor who sought to destroy their realm in his quest for power. Horus, fevered and dying, believed. When he woke, the wound had closed. He agreed to align with the powers of chaos and overthrow the Emperor, convinced his father was a corrupt dictator bent on achieving godhood and forsaking his sons in favor of mortal rulers. The War Master had fallen. Horus moved carefully. He converted his closest brothers first. Angron of the World Eaters was easy, his frenzied love of violence a perfect match for Khorne. Fulgrim of the Emperor's children was corrupted by a demonic blade of Slaanesh, seduced by promises of unending perfection. Mortarion of the Death Guard, already a close friend, was turned through the efforts of his first captain Kala's Typhon, who had secretly served Chaos for years. Lorgar and the Word Bearers revealed themselves. Eventually, Conrad Kurz of the Night Lords, Alpharius Omnon of the Alpha Legion, and Perturabo of the Iron Warriors joined the rebellion. Horus even corrupted Kelberhal, Fabricator General of the Adeptus Mechanicus, founding the Dark Mechanicum. Many units of the Imperial Army pledged to the War Master. 9 legions, countless auxilia, half the Mechanicus. The greatest military force in human history prepared to tear the Imperium apart. But not every warrior in the traitor legions followed Horus into damnation. Within the sons of Horus, the Emperor's children, the Death Guard and the World Eaters, loyal Marines still served the Emperor. Horus needed them gone before he could strike openly. He chose Istan Roman III, a world in rebellion, as the killing ground. The War Master dispatched every loyalist Marine in his forces to the surface, ostensibly to bring the planet back into compliance. They fought with distinction. At the moment of victory, Horus gave the order. Virus bombs rained down on Istan Roman III. 12 billion people died almost immediately. The psychic shock of so many simultaneous deaths shrieked through the warp, alerting the Emperor that something had gone catastrophically wrong and informing the Chaos Gods that Horus was now theirs. Some Marines loyal to the Emperor had remained aboard their ships. They fought desperately to warn their brothers on the surface, and their sacrifice saved many who took shelter before the virus fires consumed everything. The population of Istan Roman III received no such protection. The remaining loyalists, including elements who reverted to the old name of Luna Wolves in defiance, held out in the ruins. Horus sent the traitor legions down to finish them in brutal ground combat. A contingent of loyalists led by Captain Garo of the Death Guard escaped the fleet aboard the damaged frigate Eisenstein, fleeing to Terra to warn the Emperor. The War Master's betrayal was now known, but the scale of his forces was not. The Emperor dispatched 7 legions to Istan V to defeat the rebellion. Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands, Korax of the Raven Guard, and Vulcan of the Salamanders formed the first wave. 4 more legions, including the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, Alpha Legion, and Word Bearers, would form the second. The Emperor did not know those 4 had already turned. Ferrus Manus, furious at Fulgrim's betrayal, led the assault without waiting for the rest of the first wave to organize. The Loyalists landed in the Urgal Depression and pushed toward the traitor positions. Then the second wave landed behind them and opened fire. The drop site massacre annihilated 3 legions in a single afternoon. Ferrus Manus died. Vulcan vanished. Korax barely escaped with a fraction of his forces. The Iron Hands, Salamanders, and Raven Guard were shattered. Horus now controlled the strategic initiative absolutely. The Horus heresy consumed the galaxy. For years, the traitor legions advanced across imperial space, burning worlds and converting or destroying any who opposed them. Horus fought and won campaigns from the eastern fringe to the Segmentum Obscurus. On Malech, the sons of Horus scored a major victory, and Horus acquired the same warp-derived powers the Emperor had once claimed there, further cementing his transformation into something beyond even a Primarch. During that same battle, the pre-heresy Mournival was reunited aboard the Vengeful Spirit after an infiltration team of knights-errant including the thought-dead Garviel Loken was captured and brought before Horus in Lupercal's court. After a fierce battle that saw the War Master slay Iact and Kuruz, one of the last Luna Wolves, the knights-errant managed to escape. Lemon Russ of the Space Wolves confronted Horus during the Battle of Tresolian. Armed with the Spear of Russ, the Wolf King managed to wound the War Master badly despite the traitor military victory. But Horus recovered, empowered by chaos in ways even the Emperor's engineering could not match. The traitors pressed on. By the time the traitors struck toward the Sol system and brought closure to the Solar War, the Sons of Horus had begun deploying newborn legionaries. Hastily created Space Marines rushed through accelerated implantation to replace losses. A large splinter force, called the True Sons of Sithonia, was allowed by Horus to attempt the reconquest of Sithonia. They remained loyal to their Primarch, but believed the Legion was losing itself to the influence of chaos, seeing salvation in the old traditions of their homeworld. The Legion was fracturing under the weight of its own transformation. The Siege of Terra was the final reckoning. Horus brought his full might against the Imperial Palace, breaching the walls and fighting his way toward the Emperor. The details of the final confrontation remain shrouded in myth and conflicting accounts, but the outcome is known. The Emperor faced Horus aboard the War Master's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. In that battle, Horus fell. The Emperor, mortally wounded, was interred within the Golden Throne. The traitor legions, their leader dead, broke and fled into the Eye of Terror. The Horus heresy ended, but the Imperium it left behind was a shattered reflection of the dream the Emperor and Horus had once shared. In the centuries that followed, the Sons of Horus paid the price for their War Master's ambition. The traitor legions became embroiled in a series of internecine wars triggered by the Emperor's children. These conflicts dragged on for years and particularly weakened the Sons of Horus, culminating in the destruction of their fortress on Melium. The Legion was shattered and suffered catastrophic losses. To the horror of the surviving Sons of Horus, the War Master's corpse was taken by the Emperor's children and several clones were created by their self-styled primogenitor, Fabius Bile. The other traitor legions hunted down the remnants, bringing the Legion close to extinction. Ezekiel Abaddon, first captain of the Sons of Horus, destroyed the clones, including a confused and senile clone of Horus himself that failed to recognize even its closest comrades. Abaddon led the surviving Legion into a new identity. They became the Black Legion, abandoning the name and legacy of the Primarch who had damned them. The Horus heresy was not the result of a single wound or a moment of weakness. It grew from accumulated resentments, the Emperor's secrets, Lorgar's long conspiracy, and Horus's own pride and ambition. The visions on Davin were lies and half-truths, but they found purchase because doubt already existed. Horus chose to believe them. He chose to turn his legions on their brothers. He chose to burn Istan Roman III and orchestrate the drop site massacre. Chaos offered power and justification, but the War Master made the decision to betray everything he had built. The Great Crusade, which had promised to reunite humanity and usher in an age of reason, ended in the bloodiest civil war in human history. The Imperium survived, but it became a theocratic nightmare of the very kind the Emperor had sought to prevent. Horus fell to chaos, but his true legacy was the Imperium of the 41st millennium, a rotting, stagnant empire where the Emperor is worshipped as a god, and the dream of the Great Crusade is a half-remembered myth. The irony would not have been lost on the War Master had he lived to see it.